action.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
The Warrior fans clapping it up here as they cinch the Warriors' 10th win in their last 14 games.
Butler, hard drive. He's Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler with a I don't like cat game is what it felt like to me. Inside Chase Center. Warriors get the win. They didn't get off to a great start. Down early by as many as 17 in this one, but the Warriors do come back. They get the lead by halftime, and they kind of put it on cruise control for the most part in the second half. All told, the Warriors get another win on this homestand, 126-113 over the New York Knicks. So you look up now, the Warriors with 3 games to go. They're 4-1 on the homestand. They begin the second half of the season with a victory as they improve to 23-19. So 4 games over 500 for the Dubs as we welcome you in here to Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, the number, 415-808-5627 to give us a call or shoot us a text here. Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line open as well as we come to you, as we always do, from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. So cheers to everyone out here at Harmonic. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty good crowd on this Thursday night. Festive crowd. There were some Knicks fans in the joint. But, yeah, the Warriors get the better of the Knicks despite the poor first quarter and wind up earning themselves another victory on January 15th. You bet you're behind. We'll be talking a little Jonathan Kaminga as he has formally demanded a trade. I think he had informally demanded a trade a long time ago, but it was at least publicly kept under wraps. And, of course, the Warriors have been looking to trade him basically since the time that he re-upped right at the beginning of training camp with the one-year deal with the one-year team option. Of course, today, the first day that Jonathan Kuminga officially does have the ability to be traded. So we'll get into that as well as we roll on through the night here on this Thursday. But kind of a feel-good Warriors win. And, you know, you wondered going into this game when Jalen Brunson sprained his ankle last night in Sacramento in the first 5-6 minutes of that game, and the Knicks got blasted by the Kings of all things, although the Kings have been hot. They beat the Rockets, Lakers, and Knicks since the Warriors beat them. The list keeps growing since the Warriors beat them back on Friday at Chase Center. But the Knicks couldn't hit a 3 last night to save their life. I think it was 8 for 41 for the game in Sacramento for New York. And, of course, they start out and they're 3 for 3 and 6 for 9 in the first quarter, and wind up building a lead that the Warriors would have to overcome. Now, they got back into the game, did the Warriors, with the Jimmy Butler-led group of bench players. And really the story of the night, all told, was the Jimmy Butler-led groups, because Jimmy Butler was a man possessed tonight for the Dubs. 32 points, 8 boards, 4 assists. And again, he's got history with Karl Anthony Towns going back to their days with the Timberwolves. And Jimmy doesn't like Cat. And Jimmy wants to put his best foot forward when going up against Karl Anthony Towns. And, you know, Jimmy was, I think, as close to what playoff Jimmy we've seen from him, at least in the regular season. He was playoff Jimmy from a couple of years ago. And so you look at that, and he was locked in really from the jump. You know, Steph didn't play well until the second half. The Warriors do still have a starting lineup issue. The bad starting lineup that's been a net negative to this point, although the Warriors have played better basketball to the tune of winning, 11 of the last 15 now as they get to 23-19 on the season. But the starting lineup issues really put them in a hole, and I know Steve Kerr's been asked about it a couple of different times, and he said, hey, I'm sticking with it. I like the way it sets up the rest of the rotation. I think overall this team's playing well. It's a good way to get Quentin Post some minutes and keep Draymond off that center spot. But the starting lineup issue and not maybe having the best lineup out there at the beginning of a game is something eventually that I do think the Warriors are going to have to look at, and Steve Kerr is going to have to change. But they got down 13-3. And again, this is the Knicks without Brunson. The Warriors are turning the basketball over. It's 23-11. It's 31-14. That was the largest lead. 31-14, but the Warriors at the end of the quarter end up going on a 16-4 run to close the quarter and make it just a 5-point game, a 9-0 run, part of that, 16-4. The Warriors were down just 35-30 at the end of the first quarter. Warriors then quickly tied the game at 40, and it was the group that started the second quarter, which was led by Brandon Pajemski and Moses Moody, and you got Steph mixed into that group with Draymond Green. And tonight was a real positive Brandon Pajemski night, to be sure. And you look at it, and tonight was a Moses Moody night as well, as the Warriors wind up getting themselves the 126-113 win. But, yeah, Pajemski plus 22. He's been playing better. He's been hitting shots. And you look at what you get out of Moses Moody, who's been woefully inconsistent at different points throughout the season, but he hit 7 threes tonight in 9 attempts, and the Warriors needed that kind of a comfortable effort from Moses Moody and from Brandon Pajemski in this game, because Steph did not have the best first half in this one. And you look up, and, it took Steph a while to get into the act. And only 5 points in the first quarter. He had only 9 at halftime. He hadn't hit a 3 at any point in the first half. And so Steph comes along, ends up hitting 4 threes in the second half, scores 27, works his way from being a net negative in terms of the plus-minus in double digits to a guy who winds up being right up there with Jimmy Butler's 32 and Moses Moody's 21 as the Warriors, for a rare occasion this year, I think just the 8th time on the season, they wind up with 3 players going for 20 or more points. Good to see you. Appreciate you. Always awesome. Congratulations. Appreciate it. What's your name? Jordan, nice to meet you. Molly, nice to meet you. Do you want to come on over and say hi? Jordan and Molly, appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by, and congratulations to you. Absolutely. Jordan and Molly coming by, getting married. Appreciate it. The best. Always love that. Always love it. Stop by, say hi. Wonderful couple. I'll interrupt whatever thought I'm having, as long as it gives me a chance to take a sip of this brew. No, I'm good. No, I appreciate it. I'm good.
A Dubs OT proposal would be great.
No, yeah, a Dubs OT proposal would be awesome, but it looked like they had already handled Jordan and Molly had already handled that part tonight, but they were excited. And so, yeah, no, we love the people. Again, you can come in, stop me mid-thought, and we'll definitely have a good time and say hi. That's what this show's all about. So huge fans. Congratulations to Jordan and Molly. Yeah, coming to the Warriors game. Hey, beer man, how romantic. Incredibly romantic. And a big shout out to both of them and a congratulations as they get ready for their upcoming marriage. Now, where was I, Kyle? Where was I? This is where we get like 5 texts on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line. Why would you do that, JD? You're having what? Can't do that. What?
We were on Jimmy beating Cat.
Yeah, Jimmy. They got the Pajemski game tonight. They got the Moody game tonight. They got the Jimmy game tonight, and eventually they wound up getting the Steph game tonight. And this is one of those games where kind of a fake hot shooting display for New York early in the game, and they cooled off. Only 8 threes over the final 3 quarters. They hit 6 threes in the first quarter on 9 attempts. And you just thought if the Warriors could quit turning the ball over, that they'd have a chance to get some separation. And it wound up being exactly what happened as I look at the only 12 turnovers. So the Warriors are taking much better care of the basketball. They had 4 of the 12 in the first quarter of the game. And you look up, I think, in the second half as well. And, Golden State, 8 turnovers at the half. So they wound up with only 4 in the second half. And that really allowed the offense to continue to get flowing. And when that happened, the Warriors wind up able to gain that separation. And again, I think for them against a good team, I know Jalen Brunson wasn't playing, but I think for them to be able to put the game on kind of cruise control and win it predominantly with their offense is a net positive, because we haven't seen the Warriors really be able to do that over the course of this season. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's get to the phones. Drew Down gets us started here. Tip-off caller on Dubs OT here on this Thursday night on the Sports Leader.
What's up, JD?
Hey, what's going on, Drew?
Tonight. Man, good solid win tonight for the Dubs. I was kind of casually watching the first half, doing some housework, working on that honey-do list, something that you don't have to worry about, JD. So, luckily, I thought tonight was a vintage Jimmy game, man. The stuff, the stat sheet. He had some big fourth-quarter buckets when the Knicks were kind of hanging around. That mid-range jumper, getting to the bucket. Yeah, I thought that was a vintage Jimmy Butler game. And then Paz and Moody, man, the young players, contributing. And I think Paz is up over 40% on the year from 3. He's been looking pretty good. Moody's been a little bit inconsistent, but tonight he was on fire. So it's good to see, those young players, contributing for the win. And then the other 2 are the veterans, Horford and Melton. I think Horford's starting to look real good over his last 10. He's starting to shoot the ball a lot better. And Melton wasn't spectacular tonight, but over the last a couple weeks or 3 weeks, he's been looking good. So I think the team is starting to find a little bit of a consistent rotation. And, to see what happens next, man, what happens on the trade front with Kaminga and all that. So that'll be interesting to watch. But good win tonight, and let's keep the momentum rolling. Have a good night, JD.
No, appreciate it, Drew. Drew Down getting us rolling here on Dubs OT on this Thursday as the Warriors win at 126 to 113. It was the Jimmy. Look, when you're an older player in the NBA, and we see this with Draymond a lot, you got to find your motivation somewhere. And with Jimmy, it's inconsistent at times, as to what level can he bring as an older player in the league. And you find it with Draymond, who turns it up against the Victor Wembanyama's of the world, and he turns it up, or at least tries to, against the Jokic's of the world. We saw him do that in the home opener this year. And then there's the guys that you don't like, and you try to turn it up against the guys that you don't like. And they don't like Karl Anthony Towns. Draymond, remember the back and forth where Draymond last year on his podcast said that Cat was ducking Jimmy Butler when Cat was at I think he was at a funeral. It was a bad look. Remember, we got on Draymond for that one. It's a bad look for Draymond. But Draymond and Cat have had beef for quite some time. And, of course, the Jimmy Butler-Cat beef goes all the way back to the Timberwolves time and Jimmy basically running with the threes and beating the starters with Cat as one of the starters, going back to the time in which he was frustrated with his contract and the beginning of the end, basically, during his time with the Timberwolves before he ultimately wound up being on the move. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The number here to jump in and join the conversation, Dubs OT, with JD here on the Sports Leader on this Thursday night as the Warriors win it 126 to 113. Let's get some clicks here before we get to our first time out. Also want to let everybody know you are listening to KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco, the Sports Leader, a Cumulus Media station, as we roll into the 10 o'clock hour here. Let's get to some Kyle's clicks. Kyle, what do we got tonight here at the best YouTube chat in sports on Dubs OT? Rusty Nail, great to hear from Rusty Nail. The Dubs have had that third scoring guy the past few games. Melton has done it a few times, Pods too. As long as they keep getting a couple bench hot hands a game, this team can be a threat. I think you want, in a perfect world, as I've said, to have it be one guy relatively more consistently than others, but it is a true point. It doesn't matter who you get it from as long as you get it from somebody. And tonight they got it from multiple people. And it was, Moses Moody tonight. It was Brandon Pajemski tonight. And so you look at it, and it was four people tonight. Yeah, it was all good. We're good. Everybody's, it's all good. Cheers. Yeah, cheers. No, you're good. Come on over here, guys. Come on. What's your name? All right. Okay, Neil. Okay, Neil and Ian. Come on over to this side. Yeah, here, careful with the bruise here. We'll get you guys on. We got Neil and Ian. We're gonna hop in right here in the YouTube chat. Appreciate you guys for both stopping by. Yeah, they wanted to kind of come hang out, and they said, "Hey, you mind if I sit here?" And I said, "No, yeah, go for it. No, go for it. Have your beers." And that's it. That's it. Nice to meet you. Appreciate it. Derek Papa. No, you weren't messing with it, but just here, and you're right. It does sometimes. The train of thought can wander a little bit, but we had our guys were saying the guy was Brad Wanamaker, who came by with his fiance. Is that Brad Wanamaker? You guys remember Brad Wanamaker? No, that was the joke. It was not, but that was the joke, that Brad Wanamaker came back with his he came by with his fiance. But no, it sometimes if you're mid-thought and you're doing the show solo, and I got Kyle. Say hi to Kyle. Yeah, sometimes, but you roll with the punches. So I appreciate you guys. We can chat a little bit more during the break. But, yeah, feel free. Enjoy your brews. And always, I make a point to say, hey, always say hi. It's all good. No, I appreciate that. So thank you to you both for stopping by here out at Harmonic in Thrive City. But, yeah, the Warriors have been getting the third scoring threat, and you just see what a game changer it is, regardless of if it's the same guy, on a night in, night out basis. It just has to be somebody. Hell, you go back a year ago, the Warriors weren't getting the second guy. Now tonight they get the second guy, the third guy, the fourth guy. Look at we got some jokesters in the we got some jokesters in the chat tonight. I like it. But yeah, Rusty Nail, appreciate that to get us rolling here. Dubs OT in the YouTube chat. What else do we got, Kyle? More in the chat. So you're saying there won't be a cat to the Warriors trade by this deadline? No, there will not. Hey, Beerman, chiming in here. There will not be a cat to the Warriors trade at the trade deadline. He is not among the more popular players on other teams throughout the league. And again, it goes back to Jimmy. I am not surprised at all that Jimmy looked like he had he had a little more juice in the game tonight. Part of it was, the Warriors needed him because they got down early and the starting lineup really wasn't doing anything. So it was that second group basically with Jimmy, when Jimmy subs out and subs back in, that kind of flipped the momentum of the game. But I like an aggressive Jimmy Butler. I like it. He doesn't always have to be hitting shots, but I like Jimmy Butler looking to shoot the ball. Maybe it's not going to be 22 times, but I like Jimmy Butler, Kyle, looking to shoot the rock 15 to 20 times. I think the Warriors are better for that, in addition to getting other people involved, in addition to trying to create and use his attention that he draws to have some kickouts to some other players. I know Steve Kerr said over the last few days, you want shooting on the floor with Jimmy so he can set up the shooting, and teams aren't daring him necessarily to be the guy to make the shot. You want passing on the floor with Steph Curry as well. So, yeah, keep it rolling. Andis Brown, great to hear from you. I knew once no one from the Knicks responded after Dre grabbed Cat's leg and foot, the Knicks were going to lay down. Wow, yeah. And how about that with the flagrant fouls and the reviews, and you had Draymond grabbing Cat. Then you had the play that wasn't deemed flagrant on the screen that Cat laid on Pajemski. And Draymond got his little technical free throw miss skip in tonight when Cat was going to the line for the flagrant foul, and he ended up missing it. Draymond with his little skip and hop. It shows you that the Warriors, when they've got a little extra motivation, still have the juice. It's just not something that you can bring up every single night, especially as you look at night 42 of 82 here on January 15th. Sleepy Noid, good win, but against a tired no Brunson, like no Steph Dubs off a back-to-back hurt team. Again, we don't rate wins here, Sleepy. We don't rate wins on Dubs OT. We've seen the Warriors how many times lose to a team without their best player, and when the Knicks were up 31-14, what were you thinking then? What were you thinking when the Knicks were up 31-14, 17 in the first quarter you weren't thinking about Jalen Brunson not being there then? Again, I think we know that this team still needs some help. We talk about it every night, but they are, I think, officially starting to play some better basketball with the 11 now in the last 15. All right, let's keep it going. Danny in Vancouver is up next on the phone lines. We'll get to some more chats here on Dubs OT, but want to chime in and check in with our buddy Danny up north here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Danny.
Hey, JD, my man. How are you?
I'm doing well tonight. I'm doing well. What's on your mind?
Good. I thought that was actually one of the best wins of the year. I was very impressed with the way one of the better wins of the year. I don't want to get too over the top, but I liked the way they kept their poise when New York was hitting everything, and I thought the Warriors were playing pretty solid JD, but they were hitting everything, but they stayed with it. They didn't panic. Normally in other games, they fall apart early. They start turning the ball over. So I really was pleased. Obviously, it makes a world of difference when Pods and Moody are hitting shots. So that was great to see. I don't expect that every game, but I feel like they earned that. So that was great. I think when Butler plays like that, he takes the Warriors from a good team to being a very good team. I mean, that just makes all the difference in the world. So I was really pleased to see that. And then Steph, sort of did his Steph things in the second half. So that was great. So I really like it. I think we've got a little momentum here now. And I think we need to close it off. We need to get at least 2 of the next 3 at a minimum. So it's going to be interesting. I know there's a back-to-back. So I'm excited to see that. And the only last thing I was going to say was I was really disappointed about the Kaminga thing. I just thought it was a bit childish, to be honest. I'm curious what you thought, to come out and demand a trade. I mean, it's kind of idiotic. I mean, he's going to be traded. He's not going to be playing for the Warriors anymore. They're working on it. They're paying him $20-odd million a year. So please tell me what the logic is of coming out and saying that other than just being childish. Thanks, JD. Safe travels. Hopefully we'll see you in Seattle.
Yep. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. 808 KNBR, the number. Yeah, I think the big takeaway for me in terms of just the homestand and getting the win, and I think it was a nice win. I don't know that I'd put it necessarily in one of the best wins of the year category, but they were down 17 in the first quarter, and the Knicks were hitting everything. A night after in Sacramento, I went to the game in Sacramento last night to kind of check out the Knicks and see how Mike Brown would be received and where he was coaching before. So I was skulking around Golden One Center, didn't hit the dungeon last night, but was there. And the Knicks were 1 for 19 on threes in the first half. They were 0 for 9 in the first quarter. They were 1 for 10 in the second quarter and 1 for 19 in the half. I think they were 1 for 21 before they hit their second three. And then, of course, they start 6 of 9 tonight against the Warriors. And so, the Warriors did hold their poise. They cut the turnovers out. How many times do we see 3 or 4 turnovers in the first few minutes of the game turn into a 20-plus turnover game, and they just can't shake it throughout the entire game? So for them to shake that off, I think was important. I know Jimmy Butler can't play at this level every single night, but again, if Jimmy Butler could muster that level of play, or at least that level of aggression maybe you're not going to hit as many shots, but if he could just muster that level of aggression a little more consistently, I do think this team could be closer to the team that they maybe believed that they were at the beginning of the season, which is a 50-plus win team. I think if you ask Warriors people, they thought that they built the team as is. Now, I would disagree, and I've laid that out over the time, but I think they've believed that they had built but they built that team based on Jimmy being more like he was tonight more frequently than we see that. But the big takeaway for me overall with the win is the fact that they're now 4-1 on the homestand, and it's Charlotte, Miami, Toronto, which to me, and Miami and Toronto are back-to-back Monday and Tuesday, and this is where the games really start to come. This is going to be 4-6. Do the Warriors decide that they're going to give some guys a night off in one of the games, maybe Monday night or Tuesday night? These are all the things that come into play. Charlotte was cooking the Lakers. I was keeping a little bit of tabs on that earlier. I don't see what that game ended up. Yeah, Charlotte ended up cooking the Lakers tonight down in L.A., 135-117. So Charlotte's going to be a chase here while everybody's watching the Niner game on Saturday. Basically, those games jumping off at right about the same time. But, yeah, Charlotte's going to come in hot. And, they gave the Warriors some trouble on New Year's Eve in Charlotte a little bit at different times in that game. But 6-2's on the table, and that's the big takeaway. And 6-2, I think, was the minimum for a successful homestand. And even if you lose one of those two against Toronto and Miami, or you punt on one of them, you get that Charlotte game, and you're set up to split the other two and get a minimum of 6-2. And I think that furthers what is turning out to be some more legitimate momentum, to Danny's point there. As far as Jonathan Kuminga, what's the logic? And this will set up what we're going to get into here coming up in the next segment. We'll also get more chats as well coming up. But it sets up the conversation regarding Jonathan Kuminga. And, to Danny's point, yeah, everybody knows Kuminga's looking to be moved. I think the reason that Aaron Turner put that out there today is, one, it's the first day he's eligible. And I think Aaron Turner, right, wrong, or indifferent, was going to be looking at, all right, how do things go after Kuminga signs, going back to the beginning of training camp? How do things go between the Warriors and Kuminga? How does this season go? And I think you could make a case, hey, it started out pretty good. He's in the starting lineup. He's positively contributing to winning the first handful of games of the year. And then things completely go awry. And now it's to the point where the first day he's eligible to be traded, you look at the whole picture. Of course, Jonathan Kuminga wants to be traded. Everybody knows it. I said it to the Dirty Work guys. And look, I gave Jonathan Kuminga a lot of leeway at the beginning of the year. And, once you go back now through the entire first half of the season and see where things stand as he's eligible to be traded beginning today, and let's just be real about it. He quit when he was pulled from the starting lineup 2 months ago. So he was good for about 5 games. He struggled for 3 or 4 more. He was taken out of the starting lineup. And then he started to have some mystery injuries. And then he didn't perform well when he got opportunities. And then he was further reduced in terms of his minutes. And so we can, I think, safely look back on it now and say he quit. He quit. He gave it an honest effort for about 2-3 weeks, and then he tapped out. But the logic, I think, if there is, from Aaron Turner in putting it out there, hey, Jonathan Kuminga is eligible to be traded, Jonathan Kuminga wants to be traded, is the fact that the Warriors have reportedly been so underwhelmed by the offers for Jonathan Kuminga, and how could they not be, that they are putting it out there to many reporters that they may not trade him. That they may, if the offers are going to be this bad, just hang on to him. And they have a team option. The TO did not turn into a PO. So the Warriors still control Jonathan Kuminga's destiny, not only for the next 3 weeks, but basically for the next year and a half if they want to. So you look at that, and I guess it's technically a year because, at the point at which if he remained on the team beyond the trade deadline a year from now, then obviously JK could just go as an unrestricted free agent. But I think Aaron Turner was so adamant about now being the time to put this out there is, one, it's just the calendar. He's eligible, so you make the point assessing the way the season has gone for his client, and two, the notion that the Warriors are putting out there that they may not trade Jonathan Kuminga, and which I don't believe. But Aaron Turner is making a point after being relatively quiet once his client signed. He's making a point now to say, hey, none of this has gone as we've wanted it to. My guy wants out, and you need to get him the hell out of here in the next 20 days. So I think that's fair because, let's be honest, whether you're a Jonathan Kuminga fan or a Warrior fan or a fan of both, or believe it could have worked or been handled differently, or the front office screwed up, or it's all on Steve Kerr, whatever it is, whatever your take is, whatever it is, the best possible thing for the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga is for Jonathan Kuminga to be traded in the next 20 days. So I think that's something, regardless of the whose fault and this and that, they got to figure it out. So I think Aaron Turner is trying to do his best due diligence to be able to say, all right, let's make sure this doesn't happen. Let's make for damn sure that my guy is not on this team come February 5th at, I can't remember if it's noon Pacific or 1 Pacific or 3 Pacific, whatever the time is, the trade deadline. Noon, I think it's noon. I'll look it up during the break. But that's where Aaron Turner's. Is it a bad look? Maybe. I don't even care at this point. Like, I don't care about really. Like, who cares? Like, everybody knows what time it is. The bottom line is the Warriors need to look to make the move. And if Aaron Turner tries to more forcibly make them do it, so the hell what? And again, I think the Warriors internally had believed that basically he had quiet quit now going back the last 2 months. So that's that as far as kind of setting the table for what's ahead for Jonathan Kaminga. We'll get into some of the reports coming up. I do want to get more Kyle's clicks. We are overdue for a timeout also, Kyle. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll take our first timeout. 808 KNBR if you want to jump in and join the conversation on the phone lines. 415-808-5627. We're off and rolling at Harmonic here on Dubs OT with JD as the Warriors win at 126-113. We're talking about it on the Sports Leader.
Live from downtown.
Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Shot clock down to 3, down to 2. Podziemski. Oh, ridiculous angle! Brandon Podziemski, money deep in the corner.
How about Brandon Podziemski getting in his bag tonight a little bit? BP making some things happen, and the Warriors needing it, and Brandon Podziemski playing better, Moses Moody playing better. That's two pretty good games in a row for both Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody after they did not play well against the Atlanta Hawks going back to Sunday evening at Chase Center. Warriors win, though. 126-113 is the final. We're back here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Cheers to everyone out at Harmonic. Cheers to everybody in the YouTube chat. 808-KNBR, 415-808-5627, the number to jump in and join the conversation. Couple of phone lines open. Also, the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line is open as well. Let's get back to more chats here in the YouTube chat and Kyle's clicks here as we roll on Dubs OT. What do we got, Kyle? All right, Drew Down chiming in. Appreciated Drew's call earlier. Get the deal for MPJ done. Moody, JK, Buddy, a first, 2 first-round picks seem steep unless one of them is heavily protected and converts to 2 second-rounders. You know, it depends on what you hear, but I think we need to do a little bit more of a dive into exactly how badly the Nets want to trade Michael Porter Jr. I think that's something worth examining here. After talking to some people a little bit earlier today, and it's not necessarily that the Warriors aren't interested, because I'm not buying for a second the reporting that the Warriors aren't interested in Michael Porter Jr. He is the number one player on the board right now that would be attainable for the Warriors, but he has to be deemed tradable by the team that he's currently on. And so it's interesting. I mean, he's been tremendous for Brooklyn. Brooklyn doesn't have their first-round pick next year, so maybe keeping Michael Porter Jr. around. I know they want to keep their pick this year, but next year they want to try to be good. So maybe they wind up looking to keep him unless they're really going to get a haul in return. And so, Moody, JK, Buddy, and a first, you can say that. And Brooklyn can say, yeah, you know what? We're comfortable just keeping him unless it's going to be 2 firsts. And so I think that's the thing that ultimately is going to have to be examined. And this is why I think the Jonathan Kuminga trade is going to take a lot longer to flesh out than maybe meets the eye and have it get closer to the deadline than I think anybody is comfortable with. Because if Brooklyn truly intends to at least create the perception that they want to keep Michael Porter Jr., then the Warriors don't want to be acting in desperation in terms of their negotiation. But at the same time, as was reported in the Athletic piece and the ESPN piece, the Warriors are really concerned about giving up even a 2028 pick. And I mentioned this the other night. The Warriors, now that they are an above 500 team with half the season to go, and they feel like if they continue their current momentum, they're probably going to wind up being a play-in or a playoff team at a minimum. They're comfortable with where their pick would be right now for 26 to give it up. I think they're very much concerned, and we can debate right or wrong. I say go for it, throw the picks in now, deal with 28 and 28. But the Warriors are very fearful that either Steph's gone or Steph's compromised by an injury, and they're one of the worst teams in the league, and they're giving up a 28 pick on top of a 26 pick. But to your point, Drew Down, why can't the 28 pick potentially be a protected pick to where the Warriors don't get burned if that pick did wind up being, let's say, a lottery pick as the second pick that would be going the other way? Let's keep it moving. No cap. Role players are only hitting their shots all of a sudden because they don't want to be packaged along with Kaminga now. Don't fall for it. Well, often, no cap, it works the other way. Often guys get a little bit tight when their names start getting thrown in as potential trade bait, and they don't perform as well at the trade deadline. So we'll see as things continue to get closer. 3 weeks to go. Every player, for the most part, I think, on the Warriors roster, not named Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green for that matter, although Draymond's been mentioned a couple of times, but I think everybody not among those three is going to have their name surface in some kind of a rumor, and how they ultimately deal with that as the deadline gets closer, I think is going to go a long way as to how they're able to perform. EB here, Pods plus 22, read it and weep haters. If only JK hustled like that. Pods is really kind of coming into his own, and he always looks better when he hits shots, as any player does. But the other ways he impacts the game really, really come out when Podziemski's hitting shots, and everybody can kind of lay off some of the deficiencies in his offensive game, and the intangibles become a little bit more important. But Podziemski is a hustler. No mistake, and he isn't afraid to throw his body on the line to take a charge, but it's going to have to be more consistent than we've seen it be for Brandon Podziemski. It can't be 2 good games, 1 bad, another good game, 3 bad. Like, it has to be a little bit more like 3 out of every 4, 4 out of every 5, 7, 8 out of every 10 on the positive side, but he has been playing better. JGR, acting like we're going to be contenders when Steph leaves, shake my head, go all in. I agree with that. I agree with that. That's where I'm at with it. Don't worry about 28. Don't worry about 30. Don't worry about 32. Not 5, not 6. Just try to get that. Try to get what you can to come back, because I do think this team, again, maybe can't get to title contender status, but I think they can get to a level just under that is still a level, if not a level and a half, better than where they are right now. And from just a watchability and entertainment standpoint, that's something that I think is still more important than where things sit in terms of worrying about 2028, especially considering the way this team has drafted at this point. All right, binary. JK isn't close as a winning player. Any sane person knows that. Yeah, that's a fact, and I've been saying it for about 3 years. That's been true. And so I think everybody can see it at this particular point in time. The biggest crime of the Dubs is questioning Stephen Curry's longevity. They should have learned by now. Fair. Go back to the injury-plagued 2019-2020 season. Klay is already out. He misses the second season due to the Achilles after the knee. Steph goes out. And the Warriors basically, I think at that point in the moment, believed they were done winning titles. They thought the Steph, Klay, Dre trio was cooked. And the reality is the only guy that was the closest to being cooked at that point was Klay. And even he came back in 22 and wasn't cooked. And was still pretty good in 23. It wasn't until the end of 24 that he started to become even less consistent, and then even less consistent last year, and even less consistent now this year during his time with Dallas. Continuing on here in the chat, JD, who do you think is a realistic trade target for the Warriors in a trade centered around JK and Buddy Hield? JK and Buddy, that's what, about $30 million in player? So if you look at NBA salaries overall, I think what you have to do is start to look at the guys that are making about that much. And you look at, you start to get into, and we did this the other night. We looked at all the player contracts, guys that are making around $30 million a year that would have the potential to be available in that $30-31 million range. Tyler Hero. You want Tyler Hero? And I think the Warriors, Tyler Hero's got, 31, 33. Tyler Hero. DeJounte Murray, that's a no. Kristaps Porzingis. CJ McCollum. Andrew Wiggins is somebody you could get in all likelihood for Buddy and JK if you wanted to go down that route. So those are some of the names. Looking at guys who are making, Jeremy Grant. You might have to throw in a TJD or a GP2 or something like that. But Jeremy Grant is making about what Kuminga and Buddy Hield would be combined. So those are some of the names. I don't know if any of these names appeal. Drew down in the chat saying Wiggins in a heartbeat. Yeah, if you could figure out a way to get Wiggins back for Kuminga, then you would basically be righting the wrong that had to be wrong from last year, because in a perfect world, you'd be able to trade Kuminga for Jimmy in a package and just keep Wiggins and then have both of them. But obviously with the salaries, that wasn't going to be something that would work. Well, now you could potentially, and you needed Wiggins to go in the deal to bring Jimmy back. Now potentially you could flip that and use Kuminga in a deal to bring Wiggins back, and you wind up basically a year later having both. I think as a fallback option, if you can't get into the Michael Porter Jr., Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and have you seen the way Trey Murphy's been playing in January, by the way? I mean, Trey Murphy might be Kuminga, Buddy, Moody. I shouldn't say that because he's only making $25 million, but it might be Kuminga. They might want Kuminga pods and 3 or 4 firsts to even consider to do that. At this particular point in time. JC Mack are the Dubs. Looking at Aldama in Memphis. That's a name I have not heard. The Warriors do generate a ton of open threes, need people to make them consistently. To me, what they need is guys who can defend themselves, but also guys who can defend but can knock down the open shots. And Aldama's an interesting player. I don't know that Memphis would be necessarily looking to move that. But if they are, I think the Warriors would be interested. And for who, for what? Would it be Kuminga? Would Memphis Kuminga doesn't exactly seem like the Memphis Grizzlies type of a player. Chris Cash, you can get Gafford and Klay. I want no part of Klay. Gafford, I have some interest in. I want no part. I want no part of Klay Thompson coming back to the Warriors. No part of Klay Thompson coming back to the Warriors. Not this year. Too soon. Gene says, JK, never fake an injury. True basketball players never do that. And whoever agreed anonymously is tripping, according to the reports. Yeah, there was an anonymous Warriors player who said, hey, I don't blame JK. I know everybody's thinking it's Jimmy Butler because Jimmy obviously shut it down on a few teams throughout the course of his career and gone, Jimmy PTO, General Soreness Jimmy from some of the time in Miami or other places. But, yeah, it was one of those things that nobody had said specifically off the record and finally was said, but everybody was kind of thinking it. Everybody's kind of thinking it. And we had broached it in that terms. Like, I wasn't going to come after Kaminga for that because I didn't know it to be true. And I guess technically we still don't. But for Kaminga against OKC in the game where he was going to be able to get on the court, for him to be able to come up with an injury and then to have Joe Lacob be reportedly upset at, what's going on here, that has the potential, I think, to be a game changer just in how Kuminga is viewed and how maybe more unanimously people would look around in the Warrior front office and say, all right, this guy's got to get the heck out of here. But, yeah, it is a bad look if he truly was faking an injury in an because he was ticked off at the fact that he wasn't going to be playing because he hadn't been playing and then was basically going to be asked to play. All right, let's move forward. Rich Ray, we can't do more than 2 first-round picks for no one other than Giannis. I would do 2. I don't know about more than 2, but I would guess that the ask on Trey Murphy right now is more than 2, given the way that he's played. And yes, I saw Klay had 26 tonight. Who cares? Like that, it's what we know. Klay can have 26 any night. He also can be 1 for 10 and have 2 or 3 and be pissed off that he's not in the closing lineup and still chucking up bad shot after bad shot after bad shot. But he did have a good night tonight. But count me out on Klay. Count me out on that one. Robert Brown, if they can go 2-0 these next 2, they'll have turned a corner, I feel like. Yeah, give me even 2-1, Robert. Give me 2-1 in the next 3. And I'll give you that. The other part of Klay, and I promise I'm not going to get on a lengthy tangent, but the other part of Klay is, does he want to come back? I don't think he does. I don't think he does want to come back. And that's a part of the equation that has to be accounted for. Sleepy Noid, he sucked at the end of his Warriors tenure, and he was bitter and angry and thought he was better than he was and was a major drain on the Warriors locker room. Been there, done that, said it, still rings true. You can have your say, but the next time Klay can come back and play for the Warriors, in my book, is if it's on a ceremonial type contract where he's in a different place and accepting of who he is as a basketball player, and they're ready to put the statue or the mural or the jersey in the rafters. It's all love at that point, but stop thinking Klay Thompson's coming back. Stop thinking Klay Thompson's coming back and can help this team. And Sleepy, here I'm gonna rock you, Sleepy, right here, because this is gonna crush your soul, but it's 100% true. Brandon Podziemski's a better player in 2026 than Klay Thompson is. How about that? Brandon Podziemski is a better player than Klay Thompson in 2026. It's reality. It's reality. Night, Sleepy. No cap. JD, why does Joe Lacob keep using post-Steph picks for Giannis as a crutch? Because I think it's the only way he can conceivably get away with it without completely getting crushed by everybody. And you're right, it is a smokescreen. If Giannis got moved to the Knicks right now, what would his excuse be then? I don't know that the excuse would be there. But I think the one thing that the Warriors are saying, and you can say it's Giannis, I don't think it's Giannis. I think what it truly is Joe Lacob being terrified that as frustrated as this fan base is now, he's kind of misreading the frustration and why they're frustrated. And I think he gets a little panicky at the notion of, if they're this frustrated now over a 500 team or a mid team, how frustrated is the Warrior fan base going to be if we're a 15 and a 20 win team again, a great timeout level of team again here that quickly. And I think he's looking at it more under the lens of not Steph being gone, but Steph maybe being on the roster and Steph having some kind of an injury to where immediately a team that has high hopes, like potentially this year's team, stinks, and now you're one of the worst teams in the league, and you're giving your pick away to Brooklyn, or you're giving your pick away to Sacramento, or you're giving your pick away to somebody in order to facilitate one of these trades. All right, let's keep it moving. Chico State, 6 seed is happening. Lakers getting trounced at home to the Hornets and floundering, and Phoenix will not hold that 7 seed. It's definitely possible, but the Warriors, in my opinion, are still a move away from solidifying that, because I think this team is still too vulnerable to injury at this point, and they're still too vulnerable to the inconsistencies of the dog days of a long regular season, to where they have to add in the next 3 weeks to hold the whole thing up for a stretch drive, which they're clearly going to need. Clearly going to need. Richie, Moses went off again. He's good for a few days. I mean, that's the thing with Moses Moody. You know he's capable of it, but he might be 1 for 10 on Saturday against Charlotte, and a part of the reason why the Warriors lose a game when the vibes are high after a real professional win. So that part of it, I think, is something you have to also account for. It's just and that goes for Podziemski too. Podziemski's been as inconsistent as anybody, in addition to what we've seen from Moses Moody. Drew down, Jimmy looked great tonight. He's got plenty left in the tank. He absolutely does when he wants to bring it, when he's motivated. And I want to see more of that Jimmy over the last 40 games. I think the Warriors need more of that Jimmy. It doesn't have to be every night, but it can't be like once every 15 games. It's got to be closer to, 3 or 4 out of every 10 games. Let's see that level of Jimmy aggression at that point. All right, from Drew Down, a lot of good chats coming in. Hey, Beerman, they needed this version of Butler for one game in the playoffs against the Timberwolves. Yeah, they did. And they did not get it. And I don't know that he was capable of it then, because of falling on his rear end in the Houston series. I don't think he was capable of it against that team. But in the regular season, I do think he can pick his spots more. And Andis chiming in, yeah, Jimmy was tired of being mediocre, as he called the Warriors after the game on Tuesday night when they blew out Portland, but it was kind of an uninspiring blowout win. But, yeah, no doubt they needed that back in May to get Steph back into the fold. Maybe they could have stolen that series against the Timberwolves. More from the chat. Fozzie checking in. Who's been given the runaround more, Moody or JK? I actually think Moody has. I think Moody has performed more consistently as a role player than JK had, and then got the DNPs, even though he was doing all the things that the coaching staff was asking him to do and doing it much more consistently. I actually think I think Moody's been given more runaround than Kaminga. 100%. I think Moody's been given more runaround. JD, what's the plan after next season? Everyone's contract up. Why do they want all this expiring money? Seems Lacob is shoving Steph and Draymond and Jimmy out the door. I think it's too early to tell, because no cap, if I had to guess right now, I think Steph's playing beyond 2027. I think that's absolutely fact. And then we'll see. I think the Warriors at this point want the flexibility that comes along with having the space. It gives you more maneuverability to do different things. Sign a free agent, take a player into your cap space, whatever it is. And so I think the Warriors are holding on to the ability to have a bunch of different ways they can pivot for as long as they possibly can. But let's also not get it twisted, no cap. And I'm a little reluctant to even say this until we figure out exactly how this Warrior season ends, because how things end matters. But if the Warriors get on some kind of playoff run again, and they maybe make a move, and this thing looks like they're one more move away from being a title contender next year, they're going to have to deal with some guys that are going to want to start getting extensions and years added onto their contract. Steph, of course, would be a no-brainer. But let's remember, when did Jimmy start being a pain in the rear for Miami? It was when he had a year left on his deal and wanted another one. So even if it's not going to be $60 million a year, even if Draymond's price point may be going down, the Warriors are going to have to deal with some of that open cap space a little bit in this coming summer for the future, where guys are going to maybe want to start to get paid a little bit early. Something to keep an eye on. But I don't think the Warriors are looking to be clamoring for a rebuild at that point. And is chiming in, I don't think Kerr will be coaching after this season. I wonder who Steph will want as coach. That's another part of it. And Andis, I said it to my buddy Copes and Derek Papa earlier on Dirty Work. I think there's time for it to change. I think the Warriors could make a move and get on a run, and all of a sudden we're in a press conference, and the Warriors send out a note that Steve agreed to a year after this year. But I think right now, today, as we sit here, I would agree with you, Andis. Right now, as we sit here today, I'm not sure Steve Kerr is going to be the head coach of the Warriors next year. And I think Steve knows that he's got Lacob and company over a little bit of a barrel right now, because Steph wants him, Draymond wants him, and he knows that he has the power and the leverage as to maybe some of the moves that wind up getting made at the deadline, with the specter of him potentially leaving at the end of the year hanging over everything. All right, let's get a couple of more here. Kyle, let's push this thing to about 54, and then we'll go ahead and take a timeout. I'm not sure how many spots we have in this hour, but we'll make sure we take a long – okay, we'll do 54. Appreciate that. Bennett Roth, I'd love to see no class, no balls. Yeah, Michael Malone would be a great coach. He's one of the best in the business. He might be a little bit too much of a hard ass for where this Warriors team is. But, yeah, Steph would ultimately decide, I think, or have a lot of input as to who he would want to be the head coach. Fozzie says, I don't think JK is getting traded. If there was a deal out there, I believe it would have happened already. I completely disagree with that. I think deadline spur action on both sides, and the deadline was not today. The deadline is 3 weeks from today. And so while the Warriors have to be careful to not let it linger too close to the deadline, today was there is no debt. Today is just the opening of the pressure cooker that's going to become the next 3 weeks. So I actually disagree with you, Fozzie. I think don't read into Kuminga not getting traded or a deal not being in place, because what do the Warriors always look to do? Let's just call it like it is. What do the Warriors always look to do? They always like to maximize value. You were never going to get a maximized value deal for Kuminga today. And we know the Warriors believe that the value for Kuminga is underwhelming. So it may get more underwhelming in the next 3 weeks, don't get me wrong. But if you think the value of player you're getting for Kuminga is underwhelming, you hang on to him a little bit longer and you try to scour the entire freaking league, 29 teams, to see if you could find a 2-way, 3-way, 4-way, 8-way, 10-way, 15-way trade to shift this guy there and this pick here and two more go there, and you figure out a way to get somebody that can be plugged into preferably your starting lineup, if not at a minimum the top 7 or 8 of your rotation. So I do think he's getting traded. I don't think anybody should worry about today as a thought as to the fact that he wouldn't be getting traded, Fozzie. A couple of more here. Why don't guys like Steph take less money on the tail end of their careers? Cheers. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot. To bring more big-time players, it can't still really be about the money. Well, the contract is the contract. I think Steph probably will be on a lesser valued contract beyond 27 than he is now. And that with some of this cap flexibility that the Warriors have, then they can start to plan. They have to plan around Steph first, because he's the guy that would have the potential to be making the most money beyond 2027. So I think Steph was still at the peak of his powers to a point where he was getting it back for the 4-year, $44 million deal that he signed that allowed him to get KD from the ankle injury days. And so look, Steph can go and say blank check to Joe Lacob. I mean, think about it. No Steph, no rings, no banners, no Chase Center without Steph Curry. So Steph can go into Joe Lacob, especially as well as he's playing right now, and say, hey, blank check. Right now, I'll fill out the amount that I think is fair, and you figure it out. Let's not get that twisted. All right, let's do 2 more, and then we'll take a timeout. Diggum, when should this trade happen? Sooner, later, closer to the deadline? I think about a week to 10 days from the deadline, which is basically a week to 10 days from now. I think it happens anywhere between the 26th and the I'm going to say next Monday through Friday. If it doesn't happen by that in between that Sunday before the Super Bowl, that's when it starts to get dicey as far as I'm concerned. Has anybody offered anything for him today? Not that I've heard. Although I do know Sacramento still wants to offload Malik Monk. But no pick. You're not getting a pick. But that I have still heard is the Kings are the team that believes in Kaminga's talent the most, and the Kings want to offload Malik Monk. But again, we've seen that go nowhere for months, so why would that be going anywhere now? All right, let's take a quick timeout. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's pause here, come back. We'll get to Sounds of Dubs OT, more of the YouTube chat as well. We'll get into some of the reports from both The Athletic and ESPN, and we'll call it a night because, again, we got more football straight ahead this weekend to prepare for, and a flight up north to see the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. But we're continuing to talk Dubs basketball. It's Dubs OT with JD here. Rolling on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, rolling along here. Warriors do get the win over the New York Knicks. 126-113 is the final. It's Dubs OT with JD. Sounds of Dubs OT. We'll get fun with numbers, more from the YouTube chat. We're back here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Our final non-harmonic, non-Dubs OT night of the season is going to be on Saturday. I do want to let everybody know, again, with the Niner game at 5 and the Warrior game at 5:30, and I'm going to be up in Seattle for the Niners doing pre and post with Adam Copeland. No Dubs OT on Saturday, but I promise you, we've looked at the schedule, we've done all the math, and that's the last one. That is the last one. We are going 39 for 39, either YouTube only or over the air here on the Sports Leader for the remainder of the season, beginning on Monday when the Warriors host the Miami Heat, and we'll be back here at Harmonic in Thrive City for every one of the games that the Warriors play inside Chase Center after Saturday. Let's get to it. It is a Jonathan Kuminga heavy sounds of Dubs OT tonight. Let's get it started with Anthony Slater, who, along with Shams Charania of ESPN, were in on the report from about 7:30 this morning that Jonathan Kuminga wants to be traded and, in fact, is demanding a trade. Here was Anthony Slater on ESPN setting the table as to just where things stand between the Warriors and JK.
I had one source basically describe the current situation as a, quote, complete waste of everybody's time. And I think the term everybody matters there because obviously you have a player who has these, ambitious career desires and at this point feels a little held hostage by the organization. You have a Hall of Fame coach who's made it very clear he doesn't think Kuminga fits with what they're trying to do to win now. And, Steve Kerr's very empowered at this moment, later in his career, coaching career, later in this core to make those decisions. And then you have a group of veterans who are, number one, they're pretty fond of Jonathan Kuminga, and they don't love seeing him in this limbo. And also, Jonathan Kuminga's making $22.5 million. He's rotting on the bench at this point, and they're trying to win a championship this season. Jimmy Butler said they're playing mediocre basketball recently. Well, that $22.5 million could be used in the trade market to get somebody who could help. And I think some of the reason you're feeling some of this angst building is because the Warriors are at least signaling to people that they don't have to trade Kuminga if they don't like the offers. And there are a lot of people on the ground level being like, this situation needs to get resolved by February 6th.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. It's, hey, don't think that you can keep my guy here if you're Aaron Turner longer than 3 weeks from today. And so that's kind of setting the table. Here is Steve Kerr pregame. And I asked Steve, just his reaction to the trade demand and also the part about Kaminga and the relationship with Steve being beyond repair and that being a part of why Kaminga essentially wanted out. So here were the opening remarks from the head coach on the Kaminga trade demand.
Our relationship is fine. There's not a whole lot I can say about the other stuff. It's, just is what it is. Difficult situation for everybody. And, part of this league, part of the job. So we just keep moving forward, but it's a tough situation and I don't really have, much to add.
I know he was at shoot around this morning. What was kind of your message to him and what were some of your conversations like?
None of your business. Yeah. No, we talked this morning and that's all private. Yeah.
What over the next few weeks, leading up to the deadline, what do you hope to see out of him?
I will keep coaching him and, he's he'll be, part of the team and he'll be here and, it is what it is. So,
Steve, obviously a lot more of this stuff is out in the open now. How do you
allow everything not to become a distraction over the next couple of weeks?
It won't be a distraction. You know, Jonathan's a great young guy. His teammates like him. He's handling himself well. There won't be a distraction.
And that is the one thing, you know, faking an injury or not wanting to play because you feel scapegoated or not. The one thing that does ring true, and I do think is genuine, is the fact that situation be damned, I do feel like the Warrior players, and I even think Steve Kerr genuinely likes Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think it is a personal issue where they don't like him as a guy, while understanding that he has a higher opinion of himself as a basketball player than currently meets reality. And so, you know, both things can kind of be equally true. I think it's also interesting, and you're not going to want to miss what Steph Curry had to say about the whole situation, because I found it to be pretty interesting as this has gone on for quite some time now. The Warriors are used to drama. Warriors are used to being the center of attention. The Warriors are used to dealing with the tough questions that come in press conferences. I mean, they truly have seen it all, from catastrophic injuries to winning at the highest level to losing at the highest level to being the worst team in the NBA, going back to the pandemic shortened season, to being a 73-9 team that looked like they were a foregone conclusion lock to win a title, not win a title in a crushing Game 7. They have truly seen it all from a basketball standpoint over the course of the decade, the guys that have been around. And so I really don't think that they're fazed by Jonathan freaking Kaminga as being some kind of a distraction. And I think it's close enough to the end to where that's not going to be a problem. Now, he winds up back on the Warriors beyond the trade deadline, all bets are off at that particular point in time. All right, let's hear from Jimmy Butler in the locker room tonight. Again, everybody kind of weighing in among the Warrior stars on the Jonathan Kuminga situation. Here was Jimmy Buckets.
Hell no. That has nothing to do with us. We love JK in this locker room. That's not going to change. If it happens to not being here, we still rock with JK. I speak for everybody. I don't care. I speak for everybody. We love the guy. I wish him the best here. I wish him the best wherever. Doesn't change. We don't listen to the noise. I hope he don't listen to the noise. He keep coming here with a smile, doing what he's supposed to do, and being the ultimate pro. Hey. It don't got nothing to do with me. I want JK to be happy. At the end of the day, that's what I want. Whatever brings him his joy and his happiness, that's what I want from my brother, not my friend. That's my brother, like my brother now.
All right, so Jimmy Butler there, courtesy of our buddy Austin Scott in the KNBR digital department. And so I think that's sincere. I do think Kaminga, and look, it's not just Kaminga. I think if, you know, and we're going to hear Draymond, and Draymond, I think, is going to say something similar coming up here. But, you know, I think it's been chronicled some that Jimmy, more than others, has at least attempted to take Jonathan under his wing. And so, again, you know, you can look at that a couple of different ways. You can say, hey, great that he has a vet. You can also say, yeah, I'm not so sure Jimmy Butler is the best vet necessarily for Jonathan Kuminga, given the fact that Jonathan Kuminga has not proven a fraction as a player in the NBA to that of what Jimmy Butler has proven. And so, you know, Jonathan Kuminga at this stage should not be the guy that's like, yeah, I'm better than this and that, and I can go here and you don't appreciate me and all that, because you haven't proven squat as an NBA player. Like Jimmy, at least when he started to get worked up about Chicago or Minnesota or Philly or Miami, he at least had done some stuff at that point in his NBA career to where I think he had a little bit more of a beef. But again, I think none of this, and I'm going to say it until the end here, none of this I feel is personal between JK and the other players at a minimum in this locker room. Maybe it's gotten personal between him and Steve. They've both tried to professionally deflect it. Maybe JK wishes better or more from the front office or the ownership that could have set him up to be in a different position. But the bottom line, as I said today, the thing just needs to end. It just needs to end, and the Warriors have to figure out a way to get a player that can help them moving forward. And at that point, it will also be the better situation for Kaminga because he can go somewhere where he can stretch his legs and not worry about winning and try to be a focal point and try to grow in his NBA career because he's got a long way to go to just prove he can be a 25-point-a-game scorer on a losing team. I think he could do that relatively quickly, but he's got a way to go to prove that. And then can he be what type of player is he? But he's not going to do that with the Warriors. And I've said this for years. I do think Jonathan Kuminga has the capability of being an all-star caliber player in the NBA. I know a lot of you are like, JD, what are you talking about? They don't believe me. I do think he still has that capability. I don't think it can ever happen with the Warriors. And I haven't thought that it could ever happen with the Warriors really for the last two plus years, given the way things have shaken out. And no, that's not Steve Kerr's fault. Jonathan Kuminga just as culpable in that as Steve Kerr. All right, let's hear from Draymond. Draymond, this via our buddy Anthony Slater weighing in on the JK situation, and he kind of gave his take.
Because he's not a distraction. How he handles it is everything. He handles it a certain way, it becomes a distraction. But it doesn't have to be. And the way he's handled himself, the way he's dealt with things not going his way, says a lot about his character. So everyone around here can confidently say it won't be a distraction because he's not a distraction.
So there you go. Not a distraction because of the way he's handled himself. And again, let's not mistake Jonathan with the agent. The agent's got to do his thing. That's all there. Jay Bird 408. I did just say that, Jay Bird. I do think Kaminga can be an all-star player in his career. He's 22. That ain't crazy. He's got to put in a lot of work to get to that point, as I'm scanning the chat here. But it's never happening with the Warriors. That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed at this point. All right, let's hear one more. This one from Stephen Curry at the podium inside Chase Center. Again, a big theme of the night is, hey, is this thing going to be a distraction with Kaminga demanding a trade? I think it also makes it easier to not be a distraction when you look at the fact that he ain't playing. And nobody's really tripping about the fact that he ain't playing. And as I've said a bunch, the Warriors really don't need him to play. They're kind of the team they are. And he doesn't really help them a ton, even when he plays well in terms of wins and losses. So I think that makes it easier. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. You're not really missing anything. But it also, I think, is a big part of what Draymond said, which is how he conducts himself. All right, Steph, post-game on the question of the night about the Kaminga situation and potentially being a distraction.
How much do you feel like this story, the looming story, is or isn't a distraction? And how much do you feel like just a resolution is needed in this situation prior to the deadline?
It's not a distraction at all. It's a very unique situation, but our job is to just keep playing, keep winning. It'll resolve itself one way or the other.
Steph, to follow up on that, why don't you think it'll be a distraction given how much noise there is about it?
You've been around for the last 3-4 years. We've done it this whole time, so very, very well trained in this area to just play basketball.
Did you talk to him at all the last couple of days?
Not specifically about that, no.
So there you go. Steph not worried about it being a distraction the last 3 or 4 years. And, I mean, I think even beyond that. But Steph's used to this. Steph's used to dealing with this. This ain't nothing for Steph. Come on. These guys have seen it all, Kyle. So, again, and, main bullet points from today. Warriors continue to put out there that they'd be willing to keep Kuminga. I'm not buying that for a second. You look at Kaminga obviously demanding a trade. Big part of the trade demand is that the relationship with Steve Kerr is beyond repair, which is not something new. I feel like it's been that way basically for the last 2 years. And so I think at this point, it's just a matter of try to find the absolute best player you can to bring back between now and February 5th and bring that player back and let JK move on. And it's best for everybody. And I think that's where ultimately this thing looks to get to a resolution. Let's continue back to the YouTube chat. Kyle's clicks. We'll go another 10 probably. I'm good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, I know, right? Another 10. I had to cut myself off tonight for those of you watching and for Kyle. I gotta pack and I gotta go stop by Krug. I gotta stop by Krug's. I'm stopping by Krug's on the way home tonight. Like Krug's got my credential. Like I got some errands to run. I got some late night errands to run, guys. I know Grace couldn't believe it. Grace couldn't believe it. Grace kind of gave me the one more, and I gave her the Heisman. Nah, Ian, we can't do that. So yeah, just the one tonight. It's going to be a weekend. Up in Seattle. Don Peralta sleep over at Krug's. No, Krug's actually got my credential for up in Seattle because he's going to be up in Seattle for the game as well. But he picked up my credential, and we live pretty close to each other. So he picked up my credential. They had him down at 49ers practice, and because of the Warrior game, I wasn't at 49er practice. And so, yeah, you want to make sure you grab your credential because we have to be in the freaking stadium like 5 hours before the game starts to get ready for the pregame show and all those things. So you got to make sure you have your credential ahead of time. So no sleepover. Rusty Nail reporters tonight, please, someone say it's a distraction. You're right, Rusty. The job of a good reporter is to ask the question, and if they all say it's nothing, then you report that they all say it's nothing. That's kind of part of the deal, but you're right. Please someone say it's a distraction. Who was the one that said, I'm with JK, shut it down, fake an injury? Everybody assuming that was Jimmy Butler. I'm not sure that was Jimmy Butler. No, Fred Warner's not going to play. Sir corrects. The Niners ruled him out earlier today. San Jose Jazz fan 8, trade Kaminga for cash considerations of $10 worth of quarters. Give it to Pat Spencer so he can go to the laundromat. It's going to be a tough one to top. Jay Bird, give me 2 dusty socks and a nickel for Kaminga. At least someone can wear the socks. Man, that is mean-spirited, Jay Bird. The 408. That is mean-spirited. Warriors demanded JK to demand a trade. LOL. Yeah, that does feel like what happened. It was like I woke up and it was like, Jonathan Kuminga demands a trade. And I'm thinking, didn't he demand a trade like 2 years ago? Like, seriously, when he lost faith in Steve Kerr, I guess it stopped just short of that. But estimated eyes, can you imagine demanding a trade and straight up nobody wants you? Well, we do know one team does. Let's be fair here. Estimated. We know one team does. It's can the Warriors figure out a deal that would make sense for them to send him to that. And yeah, No Cap brings up a point here. And yes, this was the other part of the reporting today, and this I completely disagreed with. The reporting was that the Warriors want expiring contracts, and Yeah. The Warriors want expiring contracts and not contracts that go beyond, say, next year or the following year. But Michael Porter Jr. expires next year, I believe. Let me make sure I have that right. I believe Michael Porter Jr. expires next year. Let me get my Nets contracts here. Brooklyn Nets contracts. Shocker, I don't have a tab open with those. 38 point. Yeah, no, he expires after next year. So that was a little weird. I'm with you. I think the Warriors are interested in Michael Porter Jr. I'm not believing that. TK, I didn't get a chance to listen to TK's pod. Said he'd be fine with DeMar and Keon. I want no part of DeMar DeRozan. No part of DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is an isolation-based ball stop. DeMar DeRozan is like the Hall of Fame version of what Jonathan Kuminga wishes he could be. Like only not really athletic anymore, and is actually smaller than JK. And no. You do not want DeMar DeRozan if you're the Warriors. Absolutely not. Keon Ellis is somebody that would interest the Warriors. Come on, Sam. Say hi to the people. We have Sam is and just don't swear. Sam, KNBR alum, Sam Hustis here, KNBR digital alum, one of the best men ever. One of the best men, just a great man. Sam, former digital legend. Yeah. Running the website, just getting ish done. Yeah. Sam Hustis. And he thought so much of digital and radio. And he's like, I gotta go to law school. I quit. I gotta go to law school. I quit. Sam, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Sam's one of the best. The best. Miss you, Sam. Miss you. Sam Hustis. Legend. Big time legend. The Sammy Hustis. KNBR legend before my time. Wish I would have gotten an opportunity to work with him. Actually was kind of hoping I would get an opportunity to work with him. But the timing in life sometimes doesn't play out. Chico State 14, Dunleavy. Hey, Aaron Turner, call Shams. Tell him JK demands a trade because no team is calling about your boy, and I need some help here. That's phenomenal. I love it. Appreciate that, Chico State. Read the Steed. What's the minimum of browser tabs JD has open? The minimum. All right, I'm going to count them for you, Reed. 4, 8. Minimum. Oh, my goodness. The minimum is 14, probably. The minimum is 14. And I got them going on Safari and on Chrome. So I got 8 on Safari. I have 8 on Chrome. I got 8 on Chrome, and I got 6 on Safari. I got to do the math there right now. But yeah, I do. I click back and forth. I got Safari and Chrome, so I got things I want to look at, and I'm always kind of toggling back and forth between the two. I got things I keep on Safari, and then I got the show runs off of Chrome on the camera here. But yeah, it's about a 13-14 minimum read for a Dubs OT. Andis should have traded Kaminga for Kyle Tucker. Only if he would take the deferred money. Oh man, what a gut punch night if you're a Giants fan. My goodness. What a gut punch night if you're a Giants fan, and that breaking right before. Hey, it's cool though, because the Giants, they're running it back with Ramos, and they're running it back with Jung-Hoo Lee, and they're running it back with Drew Gilbert, and they've got Tony Vitello now. So I don't know. I think Tony Vitello and Drew Gilbert is greater than Kyle Tucker. I don't know about you. It's just you're getting a January 15 baseball take. But I don't know. Jealous of JD being able to drink on the job. That does not happen at my workplace. LOL. It normally wouldn't in our workplace either, but we do have our little Harmonic Brewing partnership. So it's kind of part of the deal, but as always, drink responsibly, of course. But yes, cheers to Grace about fell down. She about fell down when I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But we appreciate Grace, and we appreciate Julia here tonight as well. Got to meet Julia's young son, who's just a baby, less than a year old, but got to meet her young son.
Might be friends with Walter's son.
Might be friends with Walter's son, no question. EB here, JK demanded a trade, acting like he's in charge. Well, they've been trying to do that for quite a while now. All right, let's get to how many more do we have, Kyle? I'm going to let you choose how many more, and then we're going to. All right, 2 more. Bennett Roth, when was the last time the Warriors won 3 games in a row by double digits? I may have a number on that in Fun with Numbers. I may, or I may not. I'm looking through a lengthy amount of notes here. When's the last time the Warriors won 3 games in a row, period? Right before New Year's. I remember that. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, right around Christmas. That's right. They had the 3 games at home, and then they went to Toronto and lost, and they won the 2 more. But, yeah, the Warriors winning comfortably, to be sure, here over the last stretch. Kyle, let's get to it. Our finale here and our comment of the night.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
510 Steve, Pod's trying his best to keep that Valkyries courtside seat and not get traded. Well done. Well done, 510 Steve. No doubt about it. There is no doubt he wants to keep that spot. The Joe Lacob seats at the Valkyries throughout the spring and on into the summer. He's been playing better of late, to his credit. I think you definitely have to give him a nod for playing much better of late. I'm doing some digging here, just real quick. I'm gonna do some quick scanning as we get into, and you can play the thing, Kyle. Fun with Numbers here to close up the night.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, I'm looking at it. It hasn't happened this year. I'm trying on the fly here to look at the last time the Warriors won 3 straight games by double digits. Kyle, we'll see, and I may need your help here. We'll see how far we can get we'll see how far we can get with me kind of doing this on the fly. So I may need your help here in terms of, chiming in or playing some music or doing whatever needs to be done. Cause I'm unofficially running through this, and it hasn't happened this year. All right. I have found it.
Okay.
Just like that.
Can I take a quick guess?
You sure can.
Okay.
The last time that the Warriors won 3 games in a row by double digits, and I'm just confirming, yes, I can see it right here, right now.
I'm going post Jimmy Butler acquisition. I mean, specific games, I got nothing for you. But maybe on that road trip when Steph was going crazy would be my guess.
All right, here it is. It was the first 3 games out of the All-Star break last year. So Kyle, you're a smart man. It was right out of the All-Star break, post Jimmy Butler trade. It was the first 3 games after the All-Star break last year. February 21st in Sacramento. 132-108. The Warriors won by 24 in Sacramento. And then they came home and they played Dallas in the Andre Iguodala jersey retirement game, and they won 126-102. And then they beat Charlotte 2 nights later, 128-92. It was 3 games as part of a 5-game Warrior winning streak. They won the last game before the break in Houston. They went on to win a 4th game in a row by 6, that one against the Orlando Magic in the first of what was a road trip. But, yeah, you go back right around a year right out of the All-Star break. Good job, Kyle. That's really good. You said post Jimmy Butler trade, and that was like 2 weeks after they traded for Jimmy Butler. First 3 games out of the All-Star break. Well done, my friend.
How about and now I have the schedule pulled up. How about Buddy Hield being the leading scorer of 2 of those 3 games?
Jimmy and Buddy. Buddy and Jimmy. And yeah, Dom, mid-segment research. We can get that. We can get it done without missing a step. If I can have a brew while I'm talking to the people that want to get their Dubs OT camera time and interact with the YouTube chat and take Danny in Vancouver's call, I'm going to hang out with Danny in Seattle before the Niners-Seahawks game for a little bit. Man of the people. Read the steed. Kyle coming for JD's job. No doubt. No doubt. All right, let's wrap it up. Fun with numbers. Warriors have won 10 of the last 14, including 4 of the last 5. 8 of the last 10 at home. They're 15-6 at home, 4-1 in this homestand with 3 games to go. They overcame a 17-point deficit. This was the largest deficit the Warriors have overcome this year to win. They were down 16 at San Antonio in the first of the 2 games against the Spurs when they won both of those games at San Antonio. 14-4 when they score at least 120. They're 8-2 when they shoot at least 50% from the field. The Warriors hit 20 3-pointers in each of the last 2 games. First time this season they've had 2 straight games where they've hit 20 or more 3-pointers. That's a big part of why the Warriors were able to win this game. 3 20-point scores for the 8th time this year. Warriors are only 5-3 when they do that. Both teams only 12 turnovers. 18-4 the Warriors when they have as many or fewer turnovers on the season. Jimmy Butler. I think it was Jimmy Butler's best game of the season tonight, by the way. 1 shy of his season high, 32 points. Second 30-point game in the last 3, 5th of the season overall. Team high 8 boards. Also had 7 offensive rebounds. Is that right? 7 offensive rebounds for Jimmy. Steph ended up with 27 on kind of an off night. Moody hit 7 threes for his 21 points. And Podziemski, 19 points off the bench. And the Warriors wound up outscoring Portland. That was the other night. Outscoring the Knicks 35-20 in bench points. So it wasn't explosive from the Warriors side in bench points, but it was enough to prove to be the margin of victory for the Dubs. All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to Kyle Haar in our Daly City studios. Awesome effort from Austin Scott out here at Chase Center, the building that sits behind me. Thanks to Grace and Julia here at Harmonic in Thrive City. No show Saturday, again, because of the 49er game. We will be back Monday after the Warriors and the Miami Heat. We'll be back Tuesday. And again, we're going 39 for 39. We're going 39 for 39. So enjoy the NFL playoffs. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Niner game up in Seattle. Listen to me and Copes on 49er pre and post game before and after that one. We'll both be up in Seattle. Looking forward to that. And we're ready for the stretch run. Begins on Monday. Dubs OT with JD. Anybody else I need to thank, Kyle, before we get out of here?
Oh, yeah. Gunner was cutting sound, did a great job. He's one of our newbies. We probably hired him a few months ago. But yeah,
Gunner and
did a great job.
Overnight Dave chilling, all that. All right, we'll talk to you Saturday from Seattle and Monday right back here at Harmonic. Warriors win at 126-113. Dubs OT with JD right here. Best Dubs coverage in the Bay, the sports leader. Emirates Cup or bust?
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you got to start off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me.
I just wake up and I can